Hi, this is the first episode of our Unloved Cuts feature. So today we're going to be working with neck of lamb, which is this rather grisly looking cut here, but it is delicious. We're going to slow cook it in a lovely stew and it's going to be absolutely wonderful. So we're going to start off by prepping our veg. So what we've got here is a large onion. You can use red or white, doesn't really matter. We've got a couple of sticks of celery and a couple of carrots, and we're also going to use just one clove of garlic, and this isn't going to make it taste particularly garlicky, it's just going to give a nice bit of background. We've also got some mushrooms, but these are going to go in a little bit later because we don't want them to get slimy as they cook. Right, so first things first, we're going to give our celery and our carrots a quick rinse. Now we're going to start chopping our veg. You can go into quite chunky pieces for the celery because it's all going to cook down in the stew. And there's no need to bother peeling the carrots because it's all going in the stew anyway. So just, again, chop it nice and roughly, so about 1 centimetre pieces. So now I'm going to start chopping the onion. As I said before, you can use either red or white, it really doesn't matter. So I'm not going to bother finely chopping it, I'm just going to do some very rough slices, which just makes my job easier. We crush our garlic, so it's just peeled like that, and all I'm going to do is get the flat of my knife like that and the heel of my hand and just press down like that, and it gets nice and crushed. So then just run your knife through it a couple of times and that will all cook down nice and get nice and sweet in the stew. Right, so we're just going to start preparing the mushrooms now, even though we're going to be using them a bit later. You should never ever rinse your mushrooms under the tap because they'll absorb all the water and become really horrible and slimy. So all we're going to do is just, if you see any dirt, just flick it off with your thumb and you'll be good to go. So now we're going to go on to the meat. I got this lovely neck of lamb this morning from my lovely butcher Gareth. The neck of lamb comes, as you might imagine, from the neck of the lamb, and it comes sort of just above the cut, which they call the shoulder. You can also see here we've got some bits of bone, so look out for those when you're eating it, because you don't want to chew on anything that's going to be a bit crunchy and horrible, but it's going to make it taste so much better than if we were having just some bits of diced lamb. So all we're going to do now is, we've got some flour here, and I've seasoned it with a bit of salt and pepper, and this is just to thicken the stew. So all we're going to do is going to get a bit of lamb and just roll it in the flour. This is about a couple of tablespoons worth of flour, I'd say. So all we're doing is just rolling the meat in the flour like that. I'll show you with this piece here. So don't worry, there's some bits that aren't covered in the flour. This is just to make sure that you're not going to have a really thin and watery stew. Okay, so now we've got all the ingredients ready, we can start cooking. So we're just going to get quite a big, heavy bottom pan and put it on the heat. And you want to go to a kind of medium heat, and then put about a tablespoon of oil in. We're using sunflower, but you can use anything that you've got. Right, so now the oil's ready, I'm going to start putting the bits of meat in the pan. You only want to do about 3 or 4 pieces at a time because you don't want to overcrowd the pan because things will cook a bit slower if you do. So all we're doing now is browning off the meat, and that'll seal all the flavours in. The aim of this isn't to cook it all the way through, it's just to get a little bit of colour. So you probably want a little bit more brown than that. And then just turn it over. Okay, so those are done now. So we're just going to add a little bit more oil to the pan. Turn down the heat a little bit. And chuck in our veg. It's going to look like quite a lot to begin with, but it will cook down. So we've added everything except for the mushrooms now, and they're coming on quite nicely. All we want to do is cook them until the onions start to go transparent, a little bit golden at the edges, and the celery's, again, going a little bit golden. These are done now, so we're going to add the meat back into the pan. Give everything a quick stir. We are going to put in about a glass of red wine. So you want to use something that you would actually drink yourself, so nothing cheap and horrible. And we're also going to add a chicken stock cube. We're going to bring that to the boil. So we're going to add our herbs now. We're going to add bouquet garni, which you get in little sachets like this. So once that comes to a boil, you just want to let that boil for about a minute or two just to burn off the alcohol in the wine. Then you want to cover it with a lid and put it on a low simmer for about an hour and a half at least. But you can cook it from anywhere between an hour and a half to about 3 or 4 hours. Right, so the lamb's been bubbling away for a couple of hours now. It's about 10 to 15 minutes before I want to serve it, so what I'm going to do now is put in the mushrooms that we chopped up earlier. Just like that. Also, it might sound a bit strange, but I'm going to add a couple of anchovy fillets, and it won't make it taste fishy or weird, it just really intensifies the flavour and makes it nice and savoury. Right, so this is pretty much done now, so we're just going to check it for seasoning. So we're going to have it with some steamed greens and some mashed potato, but you can have it with pretty much anything you wanted.